Alright then, lads, ladies, and those of us who know better. My name is Jackson MTT Kenny, and welcome back to Bold and Bright. This is Future Jackson, coming in from somewhere with no microphone and two birds on him to say that I forgot to record the content warning that went for the beginning of this episode. Sorry. First illustration contains a visit to the vets, plus a short anecdote about it. The fifth illustration has references to stalking, and number 7 has mild references to transphobia. With all that out of the way, hope you enjoyed the episode. I managed to complete Inktober 2 years in a row. Go me! And just like last year, I'll be walking you through every illustration and trying to talk about each one individually for less than a minute, otherwise the editing becomes an absolute nightmare and the video winds up being 20 minutes long. If you're unfamiliar with Inktober, every day of October you get a prompt and you have to make a little illustration based off that prompt. No two artists do Inktober the same way. I know a lot of people like to keep it to literally just an ink drawing with maybe a wash over it. Being the hopeless overachiever that I am, I did full shaded illustrations for every day of October. Woo! And as is usually the case after a big art project like that, as of time of recording, it is very early November. I've been taking a few days break from drawing. Not completely, I still like doodling, but 31 illustrations in 31 days. That's a lot. And that's enough of the preamble. On to the actual illustrations. Day 1, the prompt was backpack. The inspiration for that one was that I had gone to the Think Parrots convention during the summer. Just literally a bunch of market stalls and a couple hundred parrots and humans. It was great. Had to travel all the way to London for that one, but no regrets. And I very distinctly remember my mom turning to me and saying, "I've just seen someone with a bird in a backpack." It was one of those backpacks with like the clear front and the perch that you use for cats. Yep. And that sparked the idea, but speaking of me being bird crazy, I have 2 cockatiels, and in January, one of them managed to get herself properly sick by eating a whole bunch of stuff she shouldn't. I love that dumbass, but it was a very expensive vet visit, and she didn't have a lot of fun at it. Specifically, the vets had a policy where you weren't allowed in the same room as your pet while they were being examined, so I dropped off her little carrier, walked back out to the waiting room, anxiously paced up and down, and heard her screaming her head off. Just be clear, she was in for a throat massage, a little examination, and getting weighed. Nothing intrusive, nothing particularly scary. She's just a drama queen. I'm glad I told the vet in advance that she's a total brat, because the first thing she said to me when she came out was, "Ooh, she's very bitey, isn't she?" Sorry, Vet Charlotte. Oh, and if you're curious, the bird in the carrier is a conure, and I didn't have an OC or anything lined up, so I just made one up on the spot. It wound up looking like Death from the Sandman, so I just stuck a plaster on her nose and tattoos and hoped it would look different enough. It honestly just looks like Death's had a run-in with her pet bird. That works too. Day 2 was a day that I struggled with a lot, because if you ever look at one of my illustrations and notice that a large portion of it is covered in very opaque color, that means that I messed that part up and tried to cover it with something else. That's exactly what happened there. So over the lockdown, I got bored and started doodling a story based off of true crime, because I was listening to a lot of true crime podcasts. Wouldn't say I'd recommend that for someone with anxiety disorders, but hey ho. And I had an idea for these investigators who could see ghosts and they'd go around trying to solve unsolved murders by talking to the victims in question. Don't think I'll ever make anything out of it, so I decided to just reuse one of the characters. It wasn't very inspiring. I can't remember my own main character's name. And I spent a lot of time on these, so that's just embarrassing if nothing else. The original plan was going to be like a weak corpse in the water, but that didn't work. So I settled on just recreating something from one of my latest special interests, Epic the Musical. It was based off Scylla. Day 3, the prompt was boots. I had no clue what I was going to do for this, so I just shamelessly copied Janice's heels from the Sanderside Skirts photo shoot. Sue me, they're pretty, I like yellow, and I like a bitchy character. Number 4 was exotic. I had to look up what the meaning of exotic was just to make sure I was getting it right. It basically just means anything from a foreign country. It doesn't necessarily mean, like, tropical, but I completely hyperfixated on Stardew Valley. So now I am happily married with 2 children, a flourishing farm, a dog who keeps locking me out of the house, and I slightly adopted a strange child I found on an island. Meet Leo. He's parrot mad as well. That's why I like him. Day 5 was binoculars. You're going to notice a theme of the more specific the prompt, the harder time I have with it, because Normally that means, like, draw a prompt, draw a boot, draw a pair of binoculars, but it's hard and I don't like drawing technical things. But, luckily for me, a friend info dumped about an Alfred Hitchcock film where a dude spends a lot of time spying on his neighbors through binoculars, and I decided that worked well enough. Day 6, that same friend had recently read The Silmarillion, aka Tolkien's giant textbook about his own world, cause if there's one thing Tolkien loved, it was world building. So I had a little bit of Lord of the Rings on the brain. Something that I noticed was, I swear the person who made the list had been on holiday right before this, cause a lot of prompts are about walking and traveling. So I had to try to figure out ways to make like 4 different synonyms for went somewhere interesting every time. Thank you, Sam and Frodo, for making that prompt a little bit easier. Day 7, passport. So last year I wrote a short story about a wee woman missing her trans wife while she's a researcher in like a sci-fi situation. I didn't give the world building 2 fiddlers, sorry Tolkien, but I did like Andrea Veda as a character and had an idea for passport where like maybe in this universe they have weird scanny holographic techno something passports, and one day it malfunctioned and showed Andrea not as the 40-50 something trans lady, but as a very depressed teenager. God love living in a minority, it'll sure make you a cheerful teen. The prompt for number 8 was hike. We're back to the walking theme very, very quickly after the other walking theme. That was based off an OC I had. I just thought the idea of an amputee with an amputee dog was cute, and figured they deserved to go on a hike. The prompt for day 7 was sun. You're going to notice a theme that this year wound up being the Battle of the Special Interests. So, this one was based off the video game Baldur's Gate 3. Do I have that game? No. Have I listened to a lot of info dumps, seen some of the playthroughs, and read a lot of fanfiction about it? Yes. My favourite characters are Astarion, Gale, and Karlach, and that probably says something about me. The TLDR is that these vampires been able to walk in the sun after 200 years, and owing to past trauma, it's a bit of a big deal for him. He's having a little bit of a moment. And that was one where I tried to get a little bit more abstract, like what would the sun look like to you if you'd been in dark for like 200 years? I think it would probably metaphorically explode your corneas off. Day 10 was nomadic. Surprising absolutely no one, I was a Minecraft kid, and something that I used to do a lot was just grab a horse and go off in any old direction, and while I was clippity-cloppeting and making random tents in places and trying not to get killed by zombies in swamps, I would invent a wee story as to why my character had to hop on a horse and clippity-cloppity into the sunset. I think the most common one I used was something like, oh no, my village is being ransacked, so now I need to run off to somewhere and hopefully find that other nice safe village where I have a distant relative who might take me in or something. The plot wasn't the point. The point was just having a little bit of fun in the world and seeing a jillion biomes. Day 11 was snacks. I'm gonna level with you. Inktober is not an easy challenge. There are a lot of days where you straight up just don't feel like doing it. I think last year I might have gone for a day or 2 without working on anything. This year I at least tried to get like sketch, lining, and toned paper done before I quit for the day. That was hard. I'm glad I had my reportable art kit because, you know, in case I twinged my back or something, I could just sit down on the sofa and very slowly ink over a not particularly good sketch. That was one of them. It was based off Good Omens. If you know Good Omens, you know that there's a little scene where Crowley takes his Earfale out for crepes, and I decided, you know what? Maybe like 300 years after that first crepe date, they go out and get another one. They deserve it. I'm still not over the end of season 2. Number 12 turned out a lot spookier than I was hoping for. So, I'm a fan of a musical called Come From Away. It's 9/11 the musical. Make of that what you will. We will turn literally anything into a musical that we can. But the TLDR is that the American airspace closed, the planes and everyone in them had to stop in Newfoundland. And it's not a particularly populated area, and they give the pilot a monologue where she says, I can't figure out where to park this, it's just pitch black. The prompt for today was remote, which sparked in my mind because she said, oh my god, this is so remote. You might notice a bit of theme with the music going forward. I have that kind of autism where if I read a word and I have heard a song with that word in it, that song will just start looping. Yes, it makes reading very fun. But also occasionally annoying if you happen to get a Christmas jingle stuck in your head. And the 2 wee red points in the darkness were meant to be landing lights. in like the sea of black, but they just look like Cthulhu staring at you, so sorry Captain Bass, that's probably going to be a more eventful flight than you thought it was. Day 13 was Horizon, and speaking of getting inspired by songs, while I was drinking some of the Depresso Espresso, I got really into the Vincent van Gogh musical, which you should absolutely listen to. It's an underrated gem, but they've got a song called New Horizon where the brothers team up and talk about possibilities and bright futures and breaking boundaries, and it's all great. And if you've ever tried to recreate the Starry Night in watercolors on a tiny scale, all of these are like A5, you'll know that it's harder than it looks. Oh my god, just realized we've got 3 song-themed ones in a row. Theme for day 14 was Rome. I just realized I put her in a very similar pose to the Frodo one, but that is my OC Sile, who uses a crutch, so I couldn't really not give her it. And this one was inspired by the fact that I have a playlist on Spotify that's just songs from my OCs, and on Sile's track is Rainieri's cover of Poor Wayfaring Soldier, which has the I'm going there, no more to run, which does suit Sile a lot. So she got Rome. Day 15 were off the songs, but right back to the special interests. I'm very much back in my Percy Jackson era. I'm surprised it went away at all. But in short, this is Annabeth. She loves studying, she loves architecture, she's very, very nerdy, she has a lot of places she wants to visit, and it was a little bit of a theme in the second series that they were visiting all these really cool places that she wanted to see, but unfortunately they were in life-threatening peril every 2 seconds, so she didn't get to enjoy it. Poor her, when she clearly spent so long with, you know, the problem was guidebooks, researching on it. Also, I have completely forgotten where that Lee structure's from. It might be Delphi, which is a bit stupid considering that I put Athens on the guidebook. You'll have to forgive me for that one. I think I was drawing that at like 11 o'clock at night and I was already tired. Number 16 was grungy. Grunge is not my genre, so I had to look up what exactly the definition was, and settled on Nimona. I don't know, I dressed her up like a skater boy and let her graffiti some stuff. That was another one I did when I was very tired, but I'm glad Nimona got a little bit of representation on it. This has already gone on for longer than I thought it would, and I need a break. So, thank you very much for watching, and also the next 15 illustrations and the tour of my art case will be going out in the next part of this, which hopefully won't be coming out in December, but no promises if my body keeps deciding to screw me over like this. On to the outro. I have a Tumblr blog that hasn't been updated in ages. Sorry, I'm at Blue Bold and Bright. I'm going to try to upload all the Inktober stuff onto it. I try to upload every other Friday. That's been a wee bit up in the air recently because I did so much for October, but hopefully we're back to normal now. And since I think that's everything, my name is Jackson MTT Kenny, and this has been Bold and Bright.